Okay, so I'm just gonna say a few words and then just go do my thing. My arm is actually really sore today, so it's kind of interesting. Um, it's just we're in crazy climate change and it's gonna be 90 degrees today, so it's gonna be hot. So drink lots of water, everybody, and eat your food and deal with the pain and suffering. But yeah, we are in a type of experimentation and we're being tested. We saw how much diversity there was in the population. Everything came to surface in everybody. And then now there's time to have a type of an assimilation that is respectable to the public. And then you can be whatever you want to be on Facebook and even in your home. So as long as it's legal and you're not harming anyone or anything. But we're heading into a pretty conservative regime. And I can't wait because it's going to be something different. Like a lot different. And we need different. We've had the same old BS the last 20 something years. Actually more than that, 50 years. And it's time for the bad cop to come in and lay down the law. And we've all, myself included, have been given every opportunity to find a way to assimilate, to find a way to understand the diversity out there, but also to be a respectable human who doesn't put themselves out there to be a target in public, who doesn't thrive on the resistance out there, who doesn't try to convert people, who doesn't try to attack people, but there is a time and place for everything. And that's the thing that I learned, that you can't be yourself everywhere. You can't. I learned that when I was younger, when I was going into these jobs where I wanted to be myself, right? My mother goes, you can't be yourself. You have to assimilate to the culture. And that was one of the hardest lessons, was I wasn't trained to assimilate. And so that was the conflict that I was dealing with. It was that I was never trained to assimilate. I was always trained to be something different. Though I did try to assimilate, I did on some level, but then I was always trying to do something different, do something different, do something different. And you can't do that. That's when you have to work for yourself. And so now we've now seen what it's like when people are themselves out there and they cultivate aggressive resistance, not only within themselves, but also in public. And when you cultivate so much resistance in public and within yourself, it's not survivable. And it becomes deadly. And so the culture of resistance is finally going to go to the wayside, but we have a long way to go because there's going to be one culture that's going to be acceptable in the public. And even, public sector, the private sector. But you do what you do on Facebook, you say what you say on Facebook and fine, whatever. But employers and people of the like will have access to your Facebook. So whatever you say on Facebook will eventually translate into your future endeavors. So just figure out what you want to put out there and know how to explain yourself. But yeah, you're going to have to figure out that, they're going to find a way to assimilate to the public and private sector out there and be part of the mainstream and present yourself properly and then do what you do behind closed doors, so as long as it's legal. And so, all the affirmative action and the special treatment because of one identity or another, it's going to go to the wayside. I mean, I said a long time ago in the J world, I'm not special. Everything that I've been going through, someone else will go through some version of it. Okay, I don't have any heart issues or brain issues, but I definitely felt heart palpitations the last 6 months, 4 months, whatever. Definitely had the headaches, which could have been an aneurysm in somebody else. Okay, so I told everyone, through this process, you're not fucking special. Nobody is special. We're all going through a major experimentation. Major. And that's why there's so many doppelgangers out there. I saw somebody today on my Facebook that died at the hands of a domestic violence situation. And that daughter looked like someone's daughter that I know personally. I don't know I know the mother, not so much the daughter. I know the mother personally, but her daughter looks like this girl who died. And I'm just like, what is the deal here? This girl looks exactly like this girl on Facebook who died looks exactly like the girl that is like maybe 10 years old here in Ohio. Yeah. And so we've been under major experimentations. America is the last greatest experiment. We are the petri dish. That's why there's so many versions of us. And we're being forced to figure out how to assimilate. And we've had so many different scenarios developed and implanted in us. And there's so many scientists and so many government officials and so many everything have developed this society. Silicon Valley is the valley of engineering. They've done their experiments. They know exactly. They've done all the experiments even back in the 1960s with Universe 25 and the rat colony. Remember the book, Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim? You may not have read it, but we read it, in California, in Northern California. And that was a story about Mrs. Frisbee and her rats that were extremely intelligent, and they were the science experiments. I don't remember the full storyline, but that's where it derived from. So now you're getting a chance to survive these aggressive climate changes, which is not only just the weather, but also the political climate, the economical climate. Fertility is deadly when you don't know how to manage the life in your body, mind, spirit, and in your community. And so you have to let the system of government develop the fertility, and you have to figure out how to survive it. And that's what it's coming down to. And so the Middle Ages were the turning point of the human civilization because the powers that be knew something had to change real quick or the human race would annihilate itself, which is why I understand why Shakespeare was taught in school, why many of the great physicists like Copernicus, Galileo, Kepler, Darwin, and Newton, astronomers, came out of Europe during the Dark Ages and then the Renaissance period, the age of major discoveries. Greek and Roman mythology were infused with politics, religion, and science, and the history books kept getting updated, of course. Even the Bible, I'm sure, was written not that long ago when you think about it. Even 250 years, 300, 400, 500, it's not that long. Even 1,000 years ago is not that long ago when you think about it. When you think about 10 people in your world, and they each age 100, that's 1,000 years right there of information. If they can access that information, if it wasn't buried under all the trauma and shit that goes on. And so, of course, the system had to develop a huge petri dish called the United States of America and Canada to develop and perfect their experiments. Why do you think Canadians are like a compilation of the rest of the world? Canadians come from France. They come from, everywhere. Northern Europe, you look at the background of Canadians, they are another melting pot of people, no different than Americans. North America was a huge melting pot of experiments. That's why Canada is part of, the British colony or something, okay? And so, of course, the system had to develop a huge petri dish called the United States of America and Canada to develop and perfect their experiments. And I'm telling you, the more I see a lot of the died suddenly people out, the more I see a lot of doppelgangers out there. That's pretty scary when I can see somebody's young daughter in the face of someone who recently died suddenly from domestic violence or something else. And I've seen people in my town that are younger than me, and I've seen older versions of them on the airplane when I'm traveling from one place or another to another. That was crazy. I'm like, oh my God. Almost the same DNA. It's crazy. During the Middle Ages, the fertility industry, also known as the VACCINE industry, took off, and the cultural programming became fluid and ever-evolving, along with alchemy and the occult. Then you get the Aleister Crowleys and all of that, with the drugs and everything, back in the 1800s. And then Anton LaVey in the 1960s. Oh, yeah. And take away the powers of women by redefining what virgin actually means. Virgin, before the Middle Ages, and thanks to Gabrielle Murden, she's a follower on my Facebook, she posted again, which I think she posted a couple months back. Virgin before the Middle Ages was someone who was strong and independent, and it was a woman like Artemis and Diana. But now, virgin is someone who is weak and submissive and will be destroyed by those around her who aim to corrupt her. And so you see these families that are cultivating these virginal brides, these virginal girls who get corrupted by other families. And then these girls don't survive the family. And so when that is part of the depopulation agenda, then do you really think it's a great thing for women right now? For this next regime? But at this point, it doesn't matter. It's already done for a lot of these women out there. So it doesn't matter if it's Trump or Biden, because either be highly sexualized and go on OnlyFans and Instagram, and that's in the Biden era. And then you have the family, which is just as deadly, because they're all in resistance with each other during the Trump era. So you get the extremes on both ends. These women are not going to survive if they don't have what it takes to survive everyone around them. The extreme sexualized culture in both the family and in the porn industry. That's why that Hawk Tuah girl took off so quick. Because so many girls identify with her because they've been sexualized by everyone. And so, I mean, I understand the family is there if it's a stable family. And it's a good jumping off point, or so as long as that family isn't toxic, but you know how that goes. There's no way for you to know. It's all a crapshoot nowadays. And so the system will watch now everyone through the family. Everything we funnel through the family, through the school system, and then also the churches and all that. And we're going to go back to the 1950s and okay. All right. And so, now a virgin is someone who is weak and submissive and will be destroyed by those around her who aim to corrupt her. And we have a lot of Christian women who raise their girls to be weak and submissive and to be corrupted by the boys in their town. And she will be forced to get pregnant or become a sexual plaything for some billionaire boy and then be discarded when she's used up. And that was also the depopulation agenda. And many women don't survive the corruption of family and husbands and boyfriends, and so they get lost in drugs and alcohol and crazy sex and self-harm. And only the strong who have been through all of that on some level could survive and still live to tell the story. It's time for women to be conditioned to survive her peers, and many will not because they have been conditioned to be weak and submissive because it looks good according to the religions out there, Christianity and whatnot. The monsters of the past came from chaotic life with no real organization, and if the human race wanted to survive, they would have to funnel survival through organized groups like like-minded individuals and then slowly add in evolutionary information. Through countless rise and falls of civilizations, the powers that be knew how resistant deficient organisms are and were, and the system pretty much expected humans who cannot evolve to resist and die in their petri dishes of their lives. It's happening now. It's called died suddenly. It's only those who have the flexibility to adapt and change with the conditions by flitting from group to group who might stand a chance to survive given all the information they gathered over a course of their lifetime, also known as a Hayflick limit. So I was trained not to fit into any group. I was trained not to have an identity. Okay? Now, instead of physically moving and flitting from house to house, an open-minded and evolutionary adaptable person could entertain all sorts of people, groups, ideas, and information and develop their own script and storyline. And that's exactly what I've been doing the last 7 years. A human could actually evolve and survive climate change within the comfort of their home on the internet if their brain has the capacity to process information. If a person cannot process new and different information to them, they will be relegated to gatherings, crowds, traditions, selling sex, drugs, rock and roll, and under the influence with big families. Grim times ahead. Because how are these girls, weak girls and weak guys, survive all of those microbes attacking them, causing an aggressive resistance, which you cannot survive constant resistance. Too much resistance will develop breakage called the rapture rupture. And so with the future regime coming into play with conservatives at the helm, the battle will be within the family and of course the politics. And that's why if you can get out now before it's too late, you might have a chance. Maybe. I mean, I don't know what the hell that means to people, but. And so with Trump in office, that will be the 4 years of the reckoning. If you can't survive your family and friends, it doesn't matter if Biden or Trump, because the extreme left and extreme right will test everybody's ability to adapt to climate change. Politics, the change of politics is also climate change. And so I do hope Trump gets into office, because many people need to figure out how to conduct themselves in the public and in the private sector. I'm not special. Nobody is special. And I enjoy a challenge. You saw what I went through the last 7 fucking years, and it was a challenge, okay? I enjoy a challenge of assimilation and survival. It will make me stronger, not weaker. But those who don't understand how to deal with challenges will make them weaker and more submissive, and then be corrupted and destroyed by their lifestyle, belief system, and everything else. And so you're given every access to develop yourself and evolve. And they are giving you, who's they? The system is giving you avenues to stay home and stay safe, or have a family, or use drugs and alcohol and operations to manage your life. But no one is coming into your house and forcing you to do anything. And they won't the next 4 years. Because once they take the VACCINES off the table on some level, and so it'll be voluntary. It's always been voluntary, but certain powers that be aggressively encouraged people to get them, which, okay. And that was to control the population. What do you mean, Jillian? Well, if you didn't develop an aggressive, deficient human because of the VACCINES, then you actually saved a child from being destroyed and from suffering. You saved a human from suffering, because if they don't exist anymore because they couldn't handle the fertility that was going to happen, or if they never existed, then you saved someone from future suffering. See, it's all wordplay. But you can't say, things in a way that would mischaracterize, because nothing is poison. But no matter what, wherever you are in the course of your managing the life, whether there's too much life or not enough, you're the one that has to figure out how to listen to indicators and manage the life regardless. And if you are encouraged to get a therapy, whether in the holistic, allopathic, energy healing, and in the public health world, then you don't have a firm grasp on survival. So it's not going to matter what it is that you do or do not do, because you don't have a firm grasp on what it means to survive. And so it's just a matter of time. But I don't know how the right is going to think that, I don't know how that's going to manifest as far as the VACCINES. Maybe there'll be trials, and maybe there'll be people sacrificed, used as a scapegoat. I don't know. But no one's coming to your house and forcing you to do anything, and they won't the next 4 years. Not that they did anyways, but you know how that goes. So whatever you resist the next 4 years, you have voluntarily entered and injected yourself into a war that you will not win. And people get the war injected into them too, okay? And they're not winning, obviously. You're watching everybody out there not figure it out. And so, yeah, I do look forward to Trump getting into office, because people need to figure out how to survive extreme climate change. It's like the parent that holds you accountable is coming into office. You had the pushover Biden, okay? Now you're going to get the non-pushover Trump and everyone that's running the Heritage Foundation, whoever. And I'm reading some of their stuff, and I subscribe to some of their updates and stuff, and it's actually really very New World Order. It's very no more divisiveness. No, you're not special. We're not going to give you special treatment. Yes, you've had a past, and you were abused, and you were discriminated against, and people did bad things. Okay, now it's time to get over it, and now it's time to assimilate and be the best representation of whatever, and learn how to get along with your peers without trying to cultivate resistance and antagonize people that you know fully well would not appreciate what it is that you're doing and thrusting into their world. Okay? And so that's the thing, is that I can't go out there and be like, oh, Jilly Juice, to the public out there. There's so many perceptions around me and Jilly Juice. I don't put myself out there. I fly under the radar out there in public, but when I'm on Facebook, say what I say. But when I'm out in public, I fly under the radar. And I don't mix in with diverse company that know who I am, because who knows people think about me and what they could do. I know how dangerous the population is. And so that goes for everybody else out there who thinks that they're special. Fly under the radar. Dress appropriately. Don't thrust your boobs out there for everyone to see. Don't thrust all of your craziness that you think is makes you who you are. Learn how to assimilate to the public, because somebody, when you don't look like everybody else on some level, dress like most people out there, it's not like saying you have to look like as far as race, but as far as dressing like people out there, try not to call attention to yourself. That's the whole Darwin thing, right? When you have someone that stands out so much, they get picked off. And when you are in an area that's predominantly, white, black, Mexican, whatever, you better learn how to assimilate and not stand out so much. And that's what happens when people go overseas. They look like Americans, right? They have their fanny packs and their cameras and their sunglasses and their Western clothes dripping with diamonds, and they stand out like a sore thumb. And then you have all these pickpockets and whoever else figuring out how to take their items. Okay, so learn how to fly under the radar and not get picked off by the predators out there, which are all over your society. And don't put your girls out there. Don't put your kids out there. I guess you do what you do on your Facebook, but I mean, when it comes to the public, you're around so much diverse people, you don't know their backgrounds. All right? So yeah, I look forward to Trump getting into office. And so you've been given all the tools and you have been given all the indicators of danger. And now it's up to you to figure out how to apply those tools and techniques to survive. Welcome to Survivor. And if the future regime takes away the term climate change and diversity, maybe you could say what you say on Facebook, but you can't capitalize or get special treatment from the federal government because of your diversity or belief in climate change. And so at this point, I am willing to do whatever the system wants me to do because it is a conditioning for flexibility and change. And I have no investment in any lifestyle or belief system except for working infrastructure that keeps law and order. And yeah, the family is going to be what they'll promote, whether it's a marriage. Now, as far as gay and LGBTQ, okay, do what you do on Facebook. But as far as special treatment and special this and that and funding and organization, the whole Planned Parenthood, all those things, all those social programs are going to the wayside. And when they potentially do eradicate the EPA, the FDA, the USDA, it's because now you've been given all the opportunity to figure out how to assimilate to your environment. So the next 4 years, when they deregulate everything, you better learn how to live on absolutely nothing. You better learn how to assimilate to the climate, to the pollution, to the air, food, and water. You better learn how to do a lot of things that you were given so much latitude to find a way to make up for what you couldn't produce or what and now it's survival of the fittest. It is literally Darwin. We're in extreme Darwinism right now and will be. All right. And so, yeah, I mean, that's why I don't spend money. That's why I'm not a drug addict or alcoholic or any kind of addiction. Okay. I don't put myself out there, and I don't spend a lot. I'm not a consumer because I know the world's changing. And so it'll be my husband's world because he can't wait for Trump to get in office. And I can't wait just to see the changes. I can't wait to see what kind of changes are going to be made. And remember, whenever you inject yourself out there into public marching and you go and troll someone because you're upset about what they're saying, you're voluntarily lobbying the first grenade. And it's up to the person to either develop a mutually assured destruction by lobbing another grenade back or walk away from the war. So it doesn't matter who starts it, it's who walks away from it. And so if you want to go start a war out there, then the system will come down on you so fucking hard. And so you walk away from the war, you figure out how to assimilate to the current environment, and that could be political, that could be economical, and you figure out how to fly right and stay straight according to law and order. And so my husband definitely, he's cleaned up a lot of crap the last how many years from his 20s and 30s. So he's on the straight and narrow. But he's just like any other dude. He's going to have fun with his dudes. But he is on the straight and narrow. And and he's doing good. He's doing very good. And so that's where you want to be. You don't want to be a hypocrite and say, oh, I'm about law and order, and then you're breaking the law left and right in the background. Then you become stupid hypocrite. And so if you think about draining the swamp, you better make sure your background is 100%. And then, or else then people don't take you seriously because you're not under law and order. You're saying one thing and doing another. Okay? So anyways, that's all I'm going to say right now. My arm's a little sore today, but I feel okay. But anyways, I'm doing good. So hopefully you guys are doing okay. But I want to put that out there that, yeah, we're heading into some interesting times. And women are going to have to figure out how they're going to survive their family and their community and the world. Men too, but, men have a lot more flexibility than women do. Women have to figure out how to survive. All right. Bye.